Recording will start in a second. There you go.
All right, let's get started.
All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. This the November 2nd meeting, 2021 at 8:11. Those in attendance, I have Councilman McPartlin, Supervisor Syed, myself, Deputy Chief Stevens, Deputy Supervisor Pominski, Town Clerk Michelle Martinelli. Oh, we're back. And we're back.
Ah, I don't know what's going on.
Seth Goldstein is here. Other attendees, I have NCAP Representative Gene Sosnow is here. Lieutenant Joe Twitty's here. I see John Lemelin has signed in as well. Minutes for the October 5th, 2021 meeting. We have a motion to accept those minutes.
Motion to accept.
Do we have a second?
I'll make it. I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Operations.
Hey, Jordan, I am here too. I think you missed my name. Ismat.
No, I don't think you is now. We got you.
Okay, thanks. Couldn't hear you.
Right. The PD has finished testing the fifth body cam platform called Provision. Feedback was that the camera system is average compared to the others and lacks some capabilities. We keep talking about the different variations of the camera systems that we're testing. Some have tagging systems from the cameras themselves. Some have internal tagging systems. There's a lot of different variations. We're still working towards finding the one that's right for us. We're currently testing our sixth and last system called Custom Signal. We'll see how the feedback is on that. The Police Reform Implementation Task Force meeting was held on October 14th of 2021, and the next meeting, I think, is still to be determined, correct?
We have not got that set up.
Yeah, we don't have that set up. Okay. Fleet and equipment, the department has received the new radios from the UCC, and we began utilizing them November 1st. As everybody knows, this was a long process over a number of years to transition to these things and work out the details. The transition for the radios in our vehicles is currently being done. It's actually almost finished. It's Wells that's doing it correctly. Wells is doing an excellent job. They're moving at lightning speed, and we're ahead of schedule in terms of the vehicle transition. We received the new 601 and 602 fleet vehicle replacements. They're in the process of being outfitted to put in service. There's not a timetable yet on when this is going to be done because we're still waiting on certain parts because of supply issues. We're also looking to potentially modify our decals on the side of our vehicles. The deputy chief had distributed some proofs out to our membership for feedback. I think we've settled on one. I wasn't able to color print it to pass it out today, but it's just going to be a mild variation with some different colors. A little bit more blue, a little bit more gray, taking out the red and the yellows.
I'd like to look at that, and I'm sure the supervisor would too. Absolutely. Before we make a final decision on it. Okay.
Certainly, certainly. Okay, I'll email it over to you though.
Thank you.
Absolutely. The department is purchasing in conjunction with other town departments an ozone machine to disinfect our vehicles to assist with COVID protocols. Janet did an excellent job. Janet went in finding an online vendor that we could all purchase and save some money together. We discussed it in the safety meeting, the townwide safety meeting, as far as being able to disinfect town vehicles to help protect our employees. So we're pretty excited about that. Moving on to building, just some ongoing things. Charlie Bergami is still working on the lock system program to be installed on admin computers. He had called the company. Still something he's looking to get done. I know this has been going on for a while. I've got to kind of pin him down on when we can do those things. He also is still looking to price out garage door openers for the Sally Port for fleet vehicles. We're still working on that. Moving on to training, the Rescue Task Force and Active Shooter training was held on October 16th and 17th at Scotia. Our department, as well as Niskuna Fire District 1, assisted with sending instructors and trainees, and we really appreciate all of the departments involved, and we look forward to having a successful training annually, potentially, through the Schenectady County Training Board. I don't know, Chief, if you have any feedback on that.
Yeah, the feedback I got from our folks was very positive. They felt it went very well. Using the new radios worked really well. Once everybody figured out how to turn them on and change the channel, we're off to the races.
Well,
Well,
get
they're
the
a little
basics
different.
squared away.
They're a little different.
it's amazing how we can all communicate together, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
it was pretty much seamless. I was impressed.
That's awesome.
And we also we're gonna be sending, I believe, 3 guys to be train the trainer over in Waterloo in December.
Okay.
So we'll have some in-house instructors for all of that.
Awesome. Currently, our department is doing department-wide training on officer wellness and mental health, as well as diversity training specific to the LGBTQ community. We're doing that through our Police One Academy training module. That should be done within 4 days. It was sent out in October, and the deadline's within 4 days, so we're going to have all of our members trained on those things. We're pretty excited to continue to use that training platform. Also going on, we have department-wide fall range and taser recertification going on. This is a great undertaking with a lot of moving parts to accomplish both those trainings with schedules and such. Recently, Detective Daly completed his evidence technician school. As we all know, Paul's up in the DD now, and that's one of the things we got to get folks in the DD all trained up on. Detective Kafaga also attended a training on investigations into cryptocurrency at the New York State Police Academy. I have to say, I'm really thrilled that he went to that, because as we're seeing a transition into technology, different forms of fraud, this is going to greatly benefit our police department. And then lastly, I just put it under training because it's for the Zone 5. Our annual assessment is going to Finance Committee to be due. And that's an annual assessment that we have to pay to be a part of the Zone 5 Police Academy. Citizen issues. We're going to start with ongoing. Michael McLean had requested South Country Club Drive at Mayfair Drive. There'd be a 2-way stop. He states that there were some line of sight issues. I did visit the site. Superintendent Ray Smith also visited the site. He said he was going to look into some vegetation trimming, as well as potentially if we had the ability to move the signage a little bit closer to Mayfair. He was going to look at the manual to see if that was a possibility. Mary Foreman, she mentioned the Knott Street at Balltown pedestrian traffic concerns. We've had a number of days where the Zone 1 vehicle's been over there. And those folks are reporting back to me that there is pedestrian traffic, obviously, during the school commutes, but everyone appears to be utilizing the crosswalks and signals appropriately. We'll continue to just monitor that, but I think we're fairly confident that people are using those crosswalks.
Jordan, was there any information back from the guys that were doing the observation about cars blocking the intersection?
No one said anything to me with regards to that. They actually said the heaviest traffic is from Rankin across Balltown, is where it seems to be the heaviest foot traffic. But,
Yeah.
no, there was nothing about vehicles blocking crosswalks or anything like that.
No, blocking the crosswalks, actually stopping in the intersection, because the traffic gets backed up from the high school. So
nobody mentioned that. No.
well, should probably take a look at it, because more than once, as people are backed up from the high school coming towards Knott, when the light changes, people, just like at 7 in Balltown, people try to squeeze into the intersection, which blocks Knott Street traffic. So
something different, not about pedestrian traffic. We're talking about just actually the traffic flow itself. Okay.
Like blocking the bathroom.
yeah, exactly.
Moving on to Mr. Mastriani, he apologizes. He wanted to be here. He had sent an email saying he wasn't going to be able to be here. We're still attempting to collect fresh data on Wyoming Ave. There's been construction down there, and unfortunately, due to the construction, wouldn't be a worthwhile venture to put out a traffic counter, because there's not going to be a whole lot of folks going down the roadway. So we're waiting until that construction kind of finalizes, and then we're gonna put those traffic counters out and get some fresh data to get a set of eyes on that. Story Ave, Councilman McFarland and myself held a meeting with the Story Ave neighborhood on 10/15 of 2021 to discuss concerns and possible solutions to some of the things that they've been sending us feedback on. Part of the reason we did this was there was basically the entire neighborhood was sending us emails. This was one of those things where we thought it best, rather than going one by one, to kind of have that collaboration that they requested with us. So some of the things that we've already requested was that the brush around the signage on the roadway be trimmed with the superintendent, Ray Smith of the highway department. Myself and Ray met on Story Ave while they were there fixing potholes, which was amazing. I don't know if it was coincidental or what happened, but after we had that meeting, they were on Story Ave fixing potholes. And I can't thank the highway department enough because of the feedback I got. They really feel like they're cared for based on some of the things they've been discussing with us. While we were there, we talked about putting a speed limit sign on the south side of Story Ave. So some of the concerns they've had, there is no speed limit sign going up Story Ave. So we talked about that. Superintendent Ray Smith's going to look into that. I contacted New York State DOT about possibly making Balltown Road onto Story Ave. Again, another suggestion that came up, a no left-hand turn. I passed that information on to the committee members, or I don't know if everybody was involved in that email string, but basically what that process would look like if that was a potential solution to some of the ongoing traffic issues there, and something we're evaluating further. I also, when I had DOT on the phone, I requested that they actually do a traffic study, a crash analysis on the Story Ave at Balltown Road intersection for a 3 to 5 year look back. They said that was something that they had done at other intersections, and I figured let's just involve them as well and kind of look at those things and see if our numbers match their numbers, or if they have some more insight into how they do it. We've conducted some traffic surveys on Story Ave, and I'm just going to talk about them real quick. So Deputy Chief Stevens set it up, and we did a report from October 14th to October 17th. The posted speed limit at that point of the roadway, again, we know that there's a school zone that starts at the very end towards Van Antwerp. Where we set it up was 30 miles an hour. The average speed was actually 20 miles an hour on Story Ave during our survey. The 85th percentile being 26 miles per hour, meaning 85% of the vehicles are at or below 26 miles an hour. The number of vehicles above the speed limit was 106 out of a total of 5,159. So there's less than 2% of the vehicles that are speeding on that roadway. And I did pass on this information to Kathy, who's kind of been the liaison over there. And I explained to her that obviously, we've always identified that volume is obviously a concern, but I don't believe necessarily that speed is a concern based upon those findings. We actually had done a separate study back in 2020 in August, and during that, again, 3-day window from August 14th of 2020 to August 17th of 2020, same spot, the average speed was 19 miles an hour, and the 85th percentile was 26 miles an hour. So again, I think the numbers are fairly consistent with regards to what we're seeing from speeds from year to year, which is a good thing because it means that we're getting solid data that's pretty consistent.
What was the volume then? Do you have that?
The volume on that one was 4,173, but the deputy chief and I spoke about that, and that would have been not during school session. So that can account for that 1,000 vehicle difference, I'm pretty sure, from that morning commute.
4,000 or 5,000. That was over a 3-day period.
Yes, both were over a 3-day period. It is a lot of traffic.
It's a lot of traffic for a very short road.
A lot of traffic. And actually, when we talk about River Road, just in comparison, I'm going to talk about a traffic study that was requested during, I believe it was a 2-day period. There was only 5,432 vehicles on River Road during a 2-day period, which again, it's not an apples to apples, but just to kind of give you a general idea, perspective on it. So Story Ave is going to continue to be evaluated by the committee for further solutions to the identified problems that we find. We talked about other solutions with regards to, there was some concern about commercial vehicle traffic. We're gonna look into those things as well. We're still trying to take this by the numbers and make sure that we have, some good ideas that are gonna be seamless for the town, not congest traffic further or push it to other locations, and kind of work through those things together.
What about, as that with the local traffic and no commercial traffic, what about that steep hill or grade sign? We need to also look at that.
As far as
Going up the hill.
putting signage up for steep hill.
Yeah.
Okay, we can have that.
But
What do you call those things? That the trailer rests on?
There was a request during that meeting, apparently last year during COVID, due to the amount of students that were commuting via walking. There was apparently one of our crossing guards had been positioned at Story Ave in Antwerp. Some of the parents had concerns again about that location. And our crossing guard does a fantastic job. Barbara McIntosh, I can't speak highly enough about her. She was willing to take that on, and we actually had her the very next day almost at that intersection, assisting those folks with getting their kids across. And the residents were very, very pleased with that kind of quick response. I had an email from Tim Murphy in regards to some other requests from Story Ave. And again, they were excited about the crossing guard being there, but the Story Ave at VA, they wanted us to discuss moving forward. And we did discuss at the meeting a little bit, having a blinking crosswalk light during school hours, kind of similar to what Union Street has. Did we do Union Street, or was that the county that did Union Street with that signage?
Wouldn't that be the state at that point? Isn't that 146?
No, this is.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Union Street.
The Union Street's down by Cornelius, that kind of that intersection.
Yeah,
with
it's
the block.
You're talking this,
Yeah.
not the crosswalk, the actual school zone,
Yeah,
that's,
town, Charlie did all that.
okay.
Is that what they're looking for, a blinking?
They're looking for more of what my understanding of it was, where Rosendale has the crosswalk coming down the hill towards the bike path. You know how the lights flash?
I'm trying to picture where we are.
Rosendale near Ferry.
yeah.
Okay.
right, fair.
Oh,
So
yeah,
if
I got
anybody
you.
comes down, there's flashing
Yeah,
lights.
yeah.
I think that's what they're looking.
That's what I kind of figured they were looking for versus the school zone.
I think the county did do that.
County did that as part of that.
That was the
bike
connection
path,
for the bike path.
connector,
That was the
bike
Flower-
path off of
Flower Hill.
Flower Hill.
Yes.
So that was done as part of the Flower Hill project.
And they're looking specifically for the lights to flash during school hours, right? Yes.
Is there any other discussion or anything I missed on that thing? No, okay. Jennifer Semeniak requested a crossing guard Union Street at Cornelius. Again, we did visit the site. There does not appear to be a high volume of pedestrian crossing. The site is very well marked with clear line of sight on Union Street. I don't know if anybody's familiar with where that crosswalk is. I actually had Officer Comanza go out a couple days. Does not appear as though there is a volume that would substantiate a crossing guard there. Mary Sauter requested crosswalk markings from Knott Street, VA Village area to ShopRite. We do agree with this. Councilman McPartlin, Superintendent Ray Smith, and myself spoke about it. I sent a request to Superintendent Ray Smith to paint the crosswalk at the crossing nearest the posted bus stop / Niskuna Post Office. So that's on the list of things that they're going to do. Jackie and Tom Citroniti, and I apologize, Jackie, if you're watching. I tried to call you. We were playing phone tag about the traffic study we did over there. She had concerns about River Road being a 40/45 mile per hour near Blatnick Park and G Circle, and she was asking to change it to 35 miles an hour due to continued development. We did put out some extra patrols over there, and we did Deputy Chief Stevens did a study, traffic study. Find it. So we did it between October 21st and October 22nd, we're only able to get 2 days worth of data. Oh, excuse me, no, that's not correct. Through the 21st and the 23rd. During that time frame,
I think I split it into two. There's the one for 2 days, and then one for each day, 24 hours.
yeah. So it appears as though the average speed for, and again, that's a tough area because the 40 and the 45, where we put the traffic box, it almost is right where we put the traffic box, if that's correct.
I think you're right. It's
Yeah.
by accident, but yeah. I think
So
you're
we had initially run it with the 45, then we changed it to the 40 to just kind of, because it was actually in the 40-mile-an-hour zone. So this is based on the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit zone. The average speed during that time frame was 43 miles an hour. And the 85th percentile was 48 miles an hour. The number of vehicles total was 8583 over that 2-day limit. I'm sorry, so I misspoke on the stats. I was reading the wrong page. Spoke previously. So 8,583 was the total volume. Again, with the average speed limit being 43, even with the 85th percentile being 48, when you're transitioning, because it's catching both ways, you're either slowing down to 40 or speeding up to 45. So I don't necessarily think that equates to some sort of a speeding problem based upon the average speed being 43 miles an hour. I think it's something we're gonna have to continue to monitor moving forward, but I don't, based on this single study, believe there would be any reason to have a discussion about changing the speed limit. I know what her concern is. You know, there is development going on over there. The roadway is becoming more heavily trafficked, as we all know, as all of our roadways are. And I think it's just something we're gonna have to continue to monitor moving forward.
Do we know if the building department, planning department made them do a traffic study before they okayed the property, or would you do that?
Well, it depends if they requested that,
That's what I'm saying. Do you know
I
what the
don't-
building department did? or-
not that I'm aware.
Okay.
I think.
I know in the past, sometimes.
Well, they would give traffic counts, right,
Yeah.
of what they thought the volume might be.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious, because I know in the past, I know some development, they don't have to do with that one. I'd be curious to see what their data was compared to what we got.
But I don't think it would be relative to river because that's not gonna cut through. Correct me if I'm wrong. That development's not
No,
coming through.
no, it's not.
So it would only, if they were to do one, it would only be more towards the Windsor area.
Yeah, I was more just curious to know if they did one period on the road, because that's where the development's going.
I think you should probably check with Laura, because I believe,
It may not be on it.
no, I think at the beginning of the Kelts Farm project, I think there was a traffic study done on River Road. Because that's where the concerns came up in regards to the,
Well, that was
Horseshoe is-
talking about when it was gonna
Right.
connect,
right,
okay?
and that's what I'm saying, I think they
They
did.
they have
they did a
information
traffic
about that,
study.
and they did do a study about that, connection about, and then it was
Right.
due to volume, about the volume, and
That's what I'm curious to know.
thousands of,
Thinking out loud.
they determined that like thousands of cars a day would be going through
Right,
that.
and I think part of that traffic study was also speed, because that's where the concern came in regards to the second entrance to Kelts Farm, being right at the curve there, almost across from the transfer station, so
We have
you might
to
want to
get,
check with.
Florida may have that information.
Okay. New citizen concerns. Leslie Gold had requested we discuss the traffic circle at Rexford Bridge crash data. So I'm just going to read some dry statistics for a minute. 2018, we had a total of 54 accidents that would be attributed to the circle. Of those, 10 were personal injury, 44 were property damage accidents. 2019, we had a total of 45 accidents. 4 were personal injury, 41 were property damage accidents, which equates to a decrease in 16% decrease in accidents from 18 to 19, 60% decrease in personal injury auto accidents from 18 to 19, and 7% decrease in property damage accidents from 18 to 19. 2020, we had a total of 27 accidents at that intersection. Personal injury were 4, property damage were 23. Again, that's going to be a decrease from 19 to 20 of 40% total accidents. It stayed static, 0% change in personal injury. Property damage dropped by 44%. So far in 21, we have 33 total, so we've exceeded 2020 with regards to that. Of those, personal injury, 3, property damage were 30. Just to give everybody kind of a snapshot of our yearly totals for accidents townwide from 18 to 21. In 18, we had 821 total accidents. 19, we had 778. 20, we had 529. In 2021 so far, we have 463. So there's been a substantial decrease from 18 to 19, it's 5%. 19 to 20, it was 32%. And so far, again, I don't want to say what the percentage decrease is going to be because I can't estimate those things, but we're still down. So accidents as a whole have been moving in a downward direction, which is an excellent thing for us. I can tell you that I had sent former Chief McManus an email in 2019. When I was doing the grants, I was also looking at this intersection because I believe it was in 16 that the traffic circle was put in. Is that correct? I believe it was in 2016. So when I had done the numbers in 2014, when we didn't have a traffic circle, the total number of accidents was 5 at that intersection. With injuries was 1. In 15, the total number of accidents was 9. And then again, with injuries was 2. So obviously we've seen a substantial increase in that intersection with regards to traffic accidents. It's something that I've actually used as a problematic area to write into the grants for grant funding, for us to be able to put out extra patrols to specifically target those areas. It's a hard area to target from a logistical standpoint. As anyone that's driven in that area, there's not a whole lot of good spots to not only sit, but then to be able to track people down as they pass through that intersection. We've done it. The last thing we want to do is create hazards by doing that. But it is something that we monitor regularly. Everyone here is familiar with. But as far as what the numbers show that from the time the traffic circle wasn't there to the time the traffic circle is there, obviously those numbers have substantially increased. So if anybody has any points of discussion for that or anything else we need to.
Do you have that in a format I can send?
I can type it up for you. Yeah, I can type it up for you.
I'll have to get that information done.
Okay. Yeah, I can certainly put that with the spreadsheet.
Those decreases, so can probably contribute to COVID.
Certainly, less
Some
traffic.
of it, yeah, less traffic. Yeah.
20.
That's certainly part of it, but I mean, we were on a decline prior to COVID anyways, which is excellent. So that's good.
There's more accidents at roundabouts.
Is there any educational material that we can put on the website as to how to use a roundabout?
The state, I think the state has guidance on that.
Yeah, I don't know
No, I
if
think
there's
it's,
something
yeah,
that we can
there may be-
provide.
we can look into it. Excuse me, look
I don't
into
know
it.
if it'll help. Just fly through. There's stuff, especially that.
You don't have any stats on the roundabout at Rosendale and River, do you?
I don't specifically,
Yeah,
but I would tell you that I think,
Knock on wood.
I want to say there's
Yeah.
been like less than a handful of accidents in that
Yeah.
intersection. There's something,
I think it's, well, I don't want to pass aspersions, but I think it's a lot better designed than the
Yes.
last Aqueduct.
I think it's 1 lane versus 2 lane.
Correct.
Because Rotterdam, I've talked to them, I know their circle at Hamburg and Carmen,
Yeah.
being 1 lane, they say not many accidents, it's completely rectified traffic over there.
Yeah.
there's a different, I mean, obviously, there's gonna be a different volume of traffic there as well. But also, and I've said this from the get-go, the speed limit coming across the bridge, and I thought it was 45, maybe 40, but that's a really fast double lane speed limit, because we see that the majority of accidents are more so the folks are coming off the bridge, coming around, and then kind of the aqueduct part right there.
Right. Aqueduct Road is the problem at that
Yes.
roundabout because of the design. But in general, Billy's right. When roundabouts are put in, the accident numbers go up dramatically. And like you're seeing now, they're starting to go down because people are starting to get adjusted to
I
it.
was just gonna say, people get used to it.
Yeah, people don't, when they first put them in, people don't have the knowledge. Yeah, well,
And there's a learning curve.
There is a learning curve.
And this curve is very wide.
Yeah.
The only thing that was, I think that was disconcerting to me originally was how much because I remember Chief McManus telling me the same thing you did, Stan. How much the personal injury accidents proportionally increased with it, because I think in theory it's supposed to be a lower speed, so there's supposed to be less personal injury auto accidents, but more property damage auto accidents, if that makes sense.
And in general, it's true. I think at this particular roundabout, the design causes an increase in the personal injury only because and I know probably been down there. Aqueduct Road coming into the roundabout is a straight shot.
Yes.
Everything else is a curve to the left, curve to the right. And if you spend any time on those roadways, you'll see where people from Aqueduct Road think that they have the right of way and they will blast through.
Sure.
There's been a lot of,
Oh, it's classic alphabet, AB. I go back ball down there, good.
yeah, exactly.
But I think Jordan's right also. I think both of those, Balltown, Ridge, Balltown and Aqua, they're all coming in at 40, 45 miles an hour.
Right.
They're coming in hot, so.
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to keep on the front burner as far as, from putting out extra patrols and more directed patrols with grant funding and staffing when we have them to make sure we have those intersections covered. Something also new, Marianne Cobnan requested a stop or yield sign at the intersection of Middle Street and East Street, which is in fact an uncontrolled intersection. I don't know if she emailed you, Bill.
Yes.
It's something that I think we should look at. I don't know that there's a huge volume necessarily over there, but it is just absolutely, I mean, the photo she sent us, it's one road running into another without any sort of control mechanism there. Yeah, so it kind of comes, if you come around, like, so the flats will be to your left,
Yeah,
and
I
coming
know.
around right here, I mean, there's just nothing, and there's brush lines that are kind of,
She's talking about like the Z right there.
yes,
But
So-
my understanding that in uncontrolled intersections, at one point we had a list, right, of places in town that were uncontrolled intersections that needed signage. I don't know if this particular intersection is on
I
that.
don't remember that whatever we talked about.
I don't either. But it should be relatively easy for us to
Yeah.
do that.
Okay.
It's an uncontrolled intersection.
correct. And then lastly, a new Whitmire Councilwoman McGraw had said there were concerns regarding the speed limit. I know there's I don't know if it's a temporary or suggested speed limit. There's do you know when we put up they put up the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on Whitmire?
2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
Where's that, right? The Big Bend?
Yeah,
Right at the curve,
Right, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
coming in from.
That was for the trucks going into the,
right.
yeah, okay.
And
During the
so
construction.
we're talking about making it a permanent sign. I don't know if anybody has any feelings on that. I had spoken with Councilwoman McGraw about this. I had said that we don't have any volume data that I'm aware of or any speed data over there. I think we should.
I feel like at one point I sent the traffic counter up over there. I don't know when, but
I
I
didn't
feel like at
see
some
any
point
in
it
any of
wasn't
the
in there.
studies. No,
All right.
there's nothing in the studies.
I'll check the electronic file also. We can set it up. It's easy.
Yeah, let's do a traffic study over there.
Jordan, are you looking for a reduced speed at the curve or a 20 mile through the entire lane?
I think it was for the whole road, I think was the intention, just because there's an anticipation at some point here where there's gonna be more traffic, to include commercial vehicles. And so I think that's the intention. I don't want to speak on anyone's behalf, but I think that was the intention for the whole road thing.
I have an arraignment I gotta get to.
Sure.
So, Harry, if you don't mind me jumping.
No,
in.
absolutely.
Couple, three things. The town board passed a resolution permitting me to participate in the centralized arraignment program. That will, from an operational point of view, that's good for us. We unfortunately, but our loss is your gain. Chris O'Brien's going with you. We do, which leads us, we have a gap to fill, and Stephen and I, Judge Swinton and I have discussed about having another full-timer. We're trying to get somebody in. And of course, come January, if things stay the way they are, the moratorium, or the vestiges of the moratorium will be lifted. and we anticipate that there will be more evictions. Currently, we are doing our criminal calendar on Wednesdays and our civil stuff on Thursdays. Right now, the Thursday is pretty light. I anticipate come the new year, that will increase. And of course, all of this is driven by COVID. And with that, I thank you all. And have a good day, everybody.
Take care.
Community events, the Hudson Mohawk Marathon was held October 10th, 2021. Our department worked with the Schenectady County Sheriff's, the Auxiliary PD, the race organizers, and we had a successful event. It was outstanding. There were very few hitches that we had, and everybody kind of came together on it. I think, the sheriffs, all the canines that came, they have a canine team where they kind of call local municipalities, and they came out to assist us. The Auxiliary PD, can't speak highly enough about them. They're amazing, amazing group of folks that come out and assist whenever need be. And we'd like to thank them for helping make this a safe and enjoyable event for everybody. I don't know that this is necessarily going to be the race course moving forward. I think we're going to have some ongoing discussions.
Sounds like they want it.
I know they want it. I know they do want it. I think we just need to have some ongoing discussions about making it better every year if it does end up being the race course. Drug Take Back Day was held October 23rd of this year. We took in 176.35 pounds for destruction. Thanks to Lieutenant Twitty for coming in and making this successful. The last market for the farmers market was held October 16th. This was another successful year, hopefully with many more to come. The Halloween parade we assisted with on Sunday, October 31st, and we gave tours of our police department, and now District 1 was here with a fire truck. It was an amazing event. We got a lot of good feedback so far from folks. I can't thank our officers that came. Officer Brett Robinson and Officer Mara Walter came and volunteered their time to do that and pass out candy. Councilwoman McGraw assisted with getting us candy and helping us kind of collaborate on those things. It was incredible. It was an incredible event that I was glad that we really did, and it was good outreach to the community. So hopefully we can make that an annual event as well. The town clerk, Michelle Martinelli.
Yes, so through talking to a lot of residents, they seem to want more that they can pay for online. So I've done some research. We're going to try to get our dog renewals and new dogs payments online through a company that we had a seminar with. They mentioned something about doing alarms online. So I was wondering if we could look into that. Maybe it could be something that we could add to the system if it's something that would work for the department. I spoke to Chris and I asked her if she'd like to listen in on the next webinar that we have on that. And that was it. I know there was an email about the dogs with APF or Hudson. I don't know if you're going to discuss that or how that's.
I think that's still moving through the process of the town
Okay.
attorney to look at. I know
Okay,
Deputy Chief
good.
Stevens had sent some other examples from other municipalities regarding that.
Good.
I think that the town attorneys are still kind of hashing that over.
Sounds like everyone's kind of getting away from the APF because of the
That's-
seizure issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Providing Rotterdam and Schenectady alternative solutions.
Paul, do you or Elena have anything to say about that?
Apparently not.
I think that's something that Paul was working on. I wasn't involved in that bill.
Thank you, Elena. Okay.
No, Bill, I got those other examples and I'm working on trying to find an alternative as suggested.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Chief, you're up. Fire department?
Fire department's doing okay. We still are doing a lot of mutual aid to Schenectady, District 2, sometimes over into Scotia. But that's pretty much a statewide issue. with staffing in hospitals. That's kind of where it starts. Fire prevention activities in the schools are ongoing. They should be wrapping up here within the next week or so. Working with the Fire District 2 and Rexford Fire Department to get that done. And just for information purposes, the paving project at River Road should be complete by the end of this week. Yeah, they did in a couple of areas, a little deeper than we anticipated. But I would say between now and the end of the week, the access is going to be really limited. They're starting to do the drain pipes and dig things up. So you may want to encourage the guys to use the other tank for the next couple of days. And then, or if they go in there, just go in slow.
I was just saying,
During the day, I'd probably stay out of there because they got big equipment working on the place right now.
now that we know we're all in the same key system with the water department, I'd sent an email out and spoke with Matt Yetto regarding
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah, and I kept them in the loop in those emails as well. So, but hopefully it'll all be wrapped up by the end of the year. That's pretty much it. Yeah, they plan on paving Thursday, I think.
Hurry up.
We'll see. Yeah, I know. We'll see.
So under the school district, I had the pleasure of meeting with the new school superintendent, Dr. Juliet Pennyman. We had an excellent meeting. We both agree that our department, the Niskayuna Police Department and the school district are going to work together to further collaborate programs such as the community resource position and school crossing guard program. It was something that I think we both understood were of value on a number of levels. I had spoken with her specifically about kind of looking into some sort of K-8 models on how other school districts utilize community resources as far as outreach. We're eager to continue to grow that strong relationship between our department and our school district and look forward to doing that. Personnel, our department is currently processing a potential lateral candidate. We're hoping to have the support of the town board with a resolution to hire the candidate for November. There was a resolution for filling our lieutenant vacancy that was passed by the town board on October 21st. Lieutenant Twitting was promoted effective November 1, which was yesterday. So we want to congratulate him on that. That's exciting news. The executive secretary 1 position, there was a vacancy there that had been left through a retirement, and was this new position was created with the assistance of Comptroller Alam and the CSEA approval for Christine O'Brien to fill that position in a full-time capacity. Again, we hope to have the support of the committee and the town board for a resolution to do this for November. Other information that we have, the closest Carr State Police MOA. Again, this is going back to that state parkland between River Road, Whitmire, Rosendale Road. Block 7 is ongoing. Elena's been working diligently regarding that, having communications with the state police about that MOA, and that's something we're going to hopefully be able to do here moving forward. Discovery reform grant monies from 2020 to 2021. There was an MOU regarding receiving this money that would total $42,397. This has got to go to a resolution to accept those monies as well, and we're excited about getting that money back for the town from this transformation through the discovery reform legislation. It's kind of paying for, clerks and the work they're doing and all the different supplies that we needed. Gina, I'm sorry. Do you have anything that you want to speak about?
Not specifically. I wanted just to be part of the meeting. I'm grateful that there's going to be a public hearing on the opt-out law regulation November 18th. So NCAP will be happy to present some information during that public hearing. I know there were some questions about what other communities are doing, and I think there's a lot of pressure kind of at the last minute that there hasn't been a lot of direction from the state, and many communities are opting out because of the lack of guidance. I have read that there is a state senator who's making a proposition to have that extended to 2022. I don't know if that's going to move forward or not. I wanted to mention that Niska Day 22 is May 21st. That's the day that we're working with. In addition, of course, we have grant funding for police use for drug patrols, ID training. Our emphasis in November is on alcohol because Thanksgiving is like the high point of youth misuse. So those are just a couple of things that I wanted. Oh, and I'm on the farmers market committee, so I wanted to thank you guys for helping us with that activity.
Is there anything else that anyone has?
We kind of need guidance. Downstairs in the sergeant's office, the old dispatch center, there's an old radio stand, which we've determined with the help of the UCC is for the old fire radios, channel 1, channel 11. That system is going to be going down with the new radio transformation because they're becoming the same radio we're on. I did speak with Kevin Spawn the other day because the sergeants were asking if we can remove that just for space in the room. Kevin Spawn said that he would have a use for it as like a backup because I'm over my head here. Maybe help me out here.
Yeah, the dispatching still can go out over there.
Yeah, they're still going to be using
one.
channel 1. So he actually said he would take that if the town's willing to give it to him. He would take it, put it in storage, maintain it, everything like that. Because if they ever needed a backup, it'd be useful to them. So I don't know if we have to go through surplusing it to donate it to them or what. I mean, we have no use for it, literally.
And it's massive.
It's pretty big.
It's-
About yay
yeah,
high.
it's-
Yay high. It's wide. I'm under the impression that Kevin will be able to give us a hand removing it and getting it disconnected and such, but I don't know if we need to go. It's an old Kenwood radio stand. Apparently it has the ability to actually put out tones. We haven't used it in the 22 years I've been here, the first 2 being dispatch. We haven't used it. We just use it to monitor. So I think it's time to.
I mean, if it's not being used, I
don't know.
Charlie would probably know how to say it's okay. I don't know.
I just,
Somebody knows how to say
the
it's
question
all right.
more becomes, because Wells gonna be here today, their guy was here the other day looking at preparing for the radio change order. And he's like, yeah, that's fire stuff. You guys don't need that.
So the question becomes, do we have to surplus it? It has to go through a
Do
resolution.
we need a surplus resolution to donate to the county?
Because we definitely are not gonna, there would be nowhere for us to do with it. I mean,
That may be more of an Elena Paul question.
Right.
Will it still benefit our residents?
Potentially, because he wants to use it as a backup in case something catastrophic ever go down.
I mean, I think we definitely have to surplus it. Isma can weigh in. The question is, can we donate it? I think is the bigger question. We would typically do a resolution to surplus it in order to, I guess, eliminate it as any type of equipment that's
Sure.
on our books. But the question, because typically we can't donate, but if it's something that could be of use or still
Yeah, I
benefit
think
to
the
our
twist on this
residents,
one
I'm not sure if in that
obviously being that-
circumstance that would be an exception.
Yeah, I think the twist on that would be the fact that we've gone to the UCC. That's now our main communication. I see what you're saying, Elena. That's a good question.
If you can get me the serial numbers on it, I can look it up in the inventory list.
Okay, yeah.
Also,
So, go ahead.
go ahead, Isma.
It might have been the county.
So, it needs to go on our fixed assets. I don't think we can donate it. I will reach out to the comptroller's office to see what the regs are. But absolutely, Seth is right that we will need the registration number, the license number, so we can bump it against that. Also, we will talk to our auditors today to find out what exactly is the mechanism for doing that. Jordan, can you please send me an email?
Also, John had his hand up.
Okay.
Okay, so
Seth, are you there?
I am.
If you're gonna look up the serial number, and all the pertinent information, you probably want to go back and check. Chief Lingerfelter and I seem to remember that, when we came into this building or shortly thereafter,
It was probably 96 with the radios.
yeah, the county gave us that, that radio or that unit, as a backup for our, fire dispatch. So it may not even actually be ours. It may actually still be the county's.
Which if it's not on the inventory list, that's probably the case. So
And it solves all the problems. Or they can
Yeah,
take it back.
give it back.
We give it back to them.
so
Yeah, we'll see if we can find serial numbers. I'm not 100% sure where to look, but we'll try.
Serial numbers probably.
John, did you have something to say? I saw you raised your hand on the meet.
Yeah, I don't want to hold everyone up though. Do you guys mind? I have one positive point I just wanted to make as the resident, and that is that I had an opportunity to meet one of your patrol officers, Tony Camanzo. I just want to give you feedback. I had a great conversation with him. He came into our kitchen. He chatted with me for quite a while. I won't get into the details, but he was a very impressive officer, very impressive cop. So I honestly just wanted to give you that feedback, guys.
The quick question, John, is was he invited or did he just come in?
Well, there was a bit of use of force involved, but no.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other further points for discussion? Sure. Serial numbers?
We can give that.
You just give it back to them.
I'll call Kevin today. Come get your stuff.
Okay, Yasmin, are you on still?
I'm here.
Apparently Jordan wants to enter into executive session.
Okay, I'm going to assume that it's pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105, subsection F, correct?
That's correct.
To be more specific, is it to discuss the medical history of a particular person or the employment history of a particular person, or both?
Both.
Okay, all right, excellent. So I'll make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 105, subsection F, to discuss the medical history and employment history of a particular person or persons. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Supervisor, you want me in this meeting?
Yes, please.
Yep, that'd be great. Are there any opposed to that motion? Okay, so motion carries. We're going to enter into executive session. At the conclusion of executive session, we will take up no further business this morning and we will be adjourned.
Yes, ma'am.